Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Ben here from The Virtual Economist, and welcome to part 9 in my Keys to Riches series. Before we jump into the first trade of the episode, let's review what we had at the end of the last one. As you can tell here, we have the 4 unusuals, as well as 32 keys pure, and then some random other sweets and refined on the second page. And if you remember from the very last trade of the last episode, we'd sold the Nanoblokava plus 2 keys for a Burning Flames Bloke's bucket hat for the sniper. I thought that was a pretty awesome way to end the episode, just taking advantage of the all-class hype surrounding the hat. Okay, so on to the first trade. Alright, so here I'm just buying a strange Australian Force of Nature for the Scout for 12 keys pure. On backpack.tf, it has a value of 13 keys, so this is just a 1 key discount. The reason I got this trade was because I was on Vatican City and I saw this guy selling this Australian. So I decided I should trade him to try to offer up my unusual Pulgus protector, because trading an unusual for an Australian is always a really good deal. The other guy declined and he wasn't really interested in the Pulgus, but he said that he could sell it at a 1 key discount to me. So I knew that I could easily make that 1 key back by just reselling the Australian at full price, so I figured buying for 12 keys would be a good trade for me. The next trade I got literally moments after the trade before, and I had this guy trade me who is willing to quick sell his Stormy Storm Pure Tin Capotain for the Demo Man. It's a robo hat, so it's not very good at all, and it has a backpack.tf price of 13 keys. Believe it or not, I actually think that the 13 key price is actually a little bit too much. A lot of the other low tier 2nd or 3rd gen effects on this hat are actually lower, so I feel like this might be a little bit hard to sell, especially considering it's a robo hat, and robo hats definitely sell worse than their normal counterparts. But here I am actually picking it up for 9 keys, so that is a 4 key discount. He originally wanted to sell it for 10 keys, but after some negotiation, I was able to get him to go down to 9. So I feel like that's a pretty good price, and I'm just going to go ahead and pick up this unusual. Okay, so this is what we have right now. We have a record high amount of unusuals with 5 unusuals here. I know a couple of them are really low tier, but it also is pretty awesome just having a lot of unusuals at once. After buying those last 2 items, we only have 9 keys pure, which is definitely on the low end. So my goal is definitely now to try to sell some of the unusuals here and hopefully get some pure keys so I can buy some more quick sells. Alright, on to the next trade. So I went ahead and listed all of these unusuals on backpack.tf and TF2 Outpost, and after around 3 days I got a pretty awesome offer on my Flib Tribby for the Scout. If you remember from last episode, I said that it was a really good unusual, and the reason why I said it was a really good unusual was because I felt it could sell for pure keys. The reason I say this is because a lot of low tier Scout unusuals sell for pure very frequently. As long as the hat looks pretty good and the effect is alright, it has a very high chance of selling for pure. Now, the reason I knew this was because, well, I had a lot of experience, but there is another easy way to tell. To price an unusual on backpack.tf, people have to show proof of past sales. So, if you go to backpack.tf and look at the price suggestion for an unusual you have, you can see what it sold for in the past. What you find out is that if you look at a certain type of unusual and you see that it has sold for pure keys a lot in the past, chances are it's pretty good and a lot of people want them, and you'll probably be able to get a pure offer on your hat. So you probably want to decline more unusual offers because you have a greater chance of getting a pure offer. So that was my thought process going into selling this unusual, and I just decided to list it on backpack.tf and Outpost for its backpack.tf price of 18 keys. It also had nice white paint on it, which I actually think makes the hat look pretty darn awesome and might make it more appealing, but I didn't make the unusual more expensive because of that, because a lot of people just don't care. So I'm sure if I haven't foreshadowed this enough yet, I did sell it for 18 keys pure. Alright, here, so we got 19 new items acquired. Of course, one of them is a crate, so not actually a key. I'm just going to drag that around here. But anyway, I definitely think that was a very good trade, and here I'm just going to go ahead and sort my backpack a little bit, just so I can get everything really easy to see what we have. Okay, so as you can tell here, we have 27 pure keys now, and this is what we have on the other page here. We have 4 ref, as well as the other suites here, which I am going to sell at some point, hopefully pretty soon. Okay, so on to the next trade. The next trade I got was me buying another quick sell, and I think it is a pretty good one. A few days later, I was on Firepowered, and I saw this guy quick selling his dead president's El Jefe for the Scout. And on backpack.tf, it has a value of 21 keys. Now, initially you might think, oh, dead presidents, that's a pretty bad effect. And, I mean, a lot of people don't like it, but I know some people who do. What makes this hat so good is that it is an El Jefe, and it's a very high tier Scout unusual. For example, some of the best effects cost around 150 keys or more on the El Jefe. Actually, on low tier effects though, it's actually a very well priced unusual for what you get, because it is a very nice looking hat, I do have to say, and a lot of the lower tier effects you can get for very reasonable prices. So I actually think this hat is pretty good despite it being dead presidents. And if you take into account what happened in the last trade, me selling a low tier scout unusual for pure, well, there's a very high chance that I could sell this unusual for pure keys. So when the guy offered for me to pay 17 keys for his 21 key hat, I actually wasn't that turned away. Like, it's not a very good discount, obviously only 4 keys off, but I was willing to work with him. And after a little bit of negotiation, I was able to get him to go down to 16 keys, and he added 6.33 refined as sweets, which, is not a very good discount on the surface, but I honestly don't think it's that bad. One thing I definitely think you should pick up here is that you can definitely buy quick sells that are lower discounted if you pick up unusuals that you think are very good, because chances are very good unusuals sell for pure or really good overpay a lot of the time. The next trade I got was very surprising. So it was the same day that I bought the Jefe, and I got a pretty insane trade offer, and I'm gonna be honest, I did not expect this one bit. Now, the trade offer basically traded 21 pure keys for my Cloud9 employee of the Oomph, which I did not think that unusual could sell for pure. The employee is worth 21 keys on backpack.tf, so I just listed it for 21 keys, and I didn't really expect to get an offer like this, but somebody must have been interested enough in this hat to want to trade for it, especially with pure, so I don't know, maybe I was underestimating it. The problem is that I really don't like a trade like this because I think it really gives an unrealistic expectation to the viewers that, oh, an unusual like this would sell for pure, because quite honestly, I do not think this unusual would ever sell for pure. To be honest, I was just about ready to quick sell it. The only reason I wasn't able to quick sell it was because the guy just suddenly got off Steam a couple days before I was trying to sell it on a trade server, and I thought we had a trade, but he just vanished and I wasn't able to get it. I think this is just one of those instances where you just get really lucky in trading, and I mean these kind of situations actually come up a lot when you're trading, where you just get some insane offer that you just did not expect to ever get. So I think I'm just going to attribute it more to that. I just don't want people confusing this with me selling the Flib Tribby, which I actually was almost positive would sell for pure just because I've had experience with those kind of hats. And this hat definitely I do not think should sell for pure, so I don't really want people mixing that up. Of course, I did just go ahead and accept the offer here because it is still a very good trade for me. Alright, so the next trade I got was another very straightforward trade. Here I'm actually buying another unusual from the scrap.tf bot, and if you haven't been able to tell already, you can actually get some pretty nice deals off this bot. The problem is that there's a lot of times when its stock is pretty much nothing, so you basically all you see are cancer hats. But here, there was actually a decent amount of stock, so I was able to find a pretty good unusual. Here, this is a Disco Beatdown Dragonborn helmet, and on backpack.tf it has a price of 25 keys. The scrap.tf bot was selling it for 17 keys and 4.33 ref, which is actually over 30% off. So initially it seems like a pretty awesome trade. I do want to point out that this hat is heavy, so you might think that it's pretty bad, but there actually are two very good things about it that make it pretty nice. Now, Disco Beatdown is an effect that it is 3rd gen, but a ton of people love it, so I feel like I actually probably could get a pretty good offer on it. Also, Dragonborn helmet is actually one of the few heavy hats that is actually higher tier. There's a lot of people that actually, if they're gonna get a heavy hat, they might get a Dragonborn helmet, just because it looks pretty cool. So I feel like if someone was gonna buy a heavy hat, they might actually have a pretty big chance of offering it on mine. So I think this hat might actually be pretty easy to sell. But at 30% off, you really can't go wrong with it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pick it up right now. So this is what we have right now. As you can tell here, we still have a bunch of unusuals, still have 5 unusuals, but of course some of them are now slightly different. Definitely need to sell that Australium here, and then we have some keys here. A little bit less than 20, and then some ref, and then the sweets there, which I am going to sell at some point. Alright, so I know you guys like to see what the hats look like, and this is what the Disco Beatdown Dragonborn looks like, and I think it looks pretty awesome. If I was going to buy a heavy hat, this might be one I might consider. And this is what the El Jefe looks like. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad with the dead presidents, and you can tell there with the Australium, it actually looks pretty nice. Anyway, let's get right along to the next trade. Alright, so the next trade I made was me selling my Pulgus Protector for 10 keys pure. If you remember from last episode, the Pulgus has a price of 11.5 keys, so me selling for 10 keys is a 1.5 key discount. Now, I'm actually really happy to get this sold because quite honestly, it was really annoying to sell. Because I listed it on Outpost and I kept getting people offering 8 keys, 9 keys, 8 keys, another 8 key offer. It's if I said I was quick selling the hat, maybe you could offer that, but I never said I was quick selling it, so I really just got a lot of people making offers that I would never even accept. This person here, of course, did actually offer me 10 keys, but not before they offered 9 keys. Of course, I said I could not do 9 keys because that's what I paid for it, and eventually the other person, after like an hour or so, came back to me and said yes, I could do 10 keys. And I was really happy to get this out of my hands because it was really annoying to sell. I really think the problem was that I kind of bought it for a price that was a little bit too high, meaning that a lot of the offers people threw at me, I just had to say no because obviously I would be losing profit if I accepted them, which made it so it really took me a while to actually get this sold. The next trade I got a couple days later, and it is a pretty darn good trade. I woke up and saw that I had an offer of 52 pure keys on my Burning Flames Bloke's bucket hat. The hat is worth 52 keys on backpack.tf, so that was what I listed it on TF2 Outpost for, and somebody, of course, wanted to buy it for 52 keys. Now, I'm not going to say I'm surprised by this, because I honestly had a sneaking suspicion that this could sell for pure or a very good overpay offer. Like the other Burning Flames hats that I've had before, it was in a pretty good position to sell well, just because it was very inexpensive. Most Burning Flame sniper hats are definitely not as low as 50 keys, so if someone just wants a Burning Flame sniper hat, well, they're probably going to look at a trade like mine, just because they can get it for a more inexpensive price. And, of course, that must have been this guy's logic because he was a sniper main and had a lot of really awesome sniper items in his inventory, and just thought, hey, I want a Burning Flames to go with my loadout, and he saw mine and sent the offer. So, I'm not going to say I'm surprised, but I am going to say that it is a pretty awesome trade for me. Remember, I bought the Flaming Lantern Nanoblockava for 25 keys, and then I added 2 keys to get the Burning Flames Sniper hat. And then, I sold the Burning Flames Blokes for 52 keys pure, meaning that I made 27 pure keys profit. And I'm just going to say here, that is pretty freaking good. Alrighty guys, so this is what I have now after selling the Blokes, and as you can tell, a lot of pure keys. The entire first page is filled up with 50 keys, and then over here we have some more keys, totaling around 79 keys. I also have those sweets here, as well as 6 refined, those 3 unusuals, and the Australium that I do still need to sell. So of course, that's what I'm going to head out to do. So you know how I said I had a bunch of random items that I did need to sell, like the sweets and the refined? Well, I finally got to listing some of that stuff, and here I sold the first one. So I decided to quick sell my strange specialized kill streak cleaner's carbine for 7 ref. And I was pretty easily able to sell it for 7 ref. Anyway, just gonna make this trade here and get the refine. The next trade I got was definitely very interesting. I was on Vatican City and I saw this guy selling his Death at Dusk DOS Nagenvacher for the medic. Now, when I look at this unusual, I think it's a pretty awesome unusual. If you remember from last episode, this unusual actually behaves very similarly to the Death at Dusk mirror that I had. Remember, that was for Medic 2, and it was worth around 40 keys. The Nagenvacher, however, has a price of 46 keys on backpack.tf, so it's a little bit more, but it makes sense just because the hat actually looks like a hat, instead of a mirror that you could hardly see on the Medic. Similarly to the mirror, this unusual had sold for pure twice in the past, so I knew it would be pretty easy to sell. So, of course, I went ahead and tried to offer on the hat. One offer I tried to make on the hat was with my Burning Flames Blokes, but the guy kind of valued it at nothing because it was duped, which is totally incorrect, so I really wasn't able to get a trade with it. I tried offering some of the other unusuals I had in my backpack, but he really just wanted pure keys. Now, I told him that I would be interested in spending pure, but I really couldn't do full price in pure because obviously there's no way to profit off that. So I said if I was going to pay pure, I would have to pay less than backpack.tf, but it wouldn't need to be that much. We negotiated for a really long time, but we really could not come to any sort of agreement, which was really frustrating for me because I really wanted the hat. So we just kind of called it quits. However, like 3 days later, I got a trade offer from him and he sent an offer for 36 pure keys on his hat. I was kind of surprised that he was able to do this, but I guess he'd come around and decided that he would be able to sell it for less than backpack.tf. By this time I had sold my Blokes, so I really couldn't even offer that anyway, but for 36 keys I actually was really good to do it. Like, if you think about it, it's only a 10 key discount from backpack.tf, but it is, again, a very good unusual. I wouldn't be surprised if I could get an insane overpay offer or a pure offer. So, of course, I just went ahead and accepted the trade offer. The next trade I got should be no surprise to anyone who's been watching the video thus far. So, it was about a week since I first bought the El Jefe, and I got a trade offer, and someone sent me an offer for 21 pure keys. Again, I really wasn't that surprised to get this offer, because when you looked at the past sales of the hat, it had sold for pure keys multiple times. So, this was just another continuation of the same trend. So, it makes sense to get an offer of pure, and it really was good for me, because while I didn't buy it at a very big discount, I was able to make the entire discount back in pure profit. Meaning that since I bought it for 16 keys, and I sold it here for 21 keys, I made 5 keys profit. Seems pretty good. I know this episode has definitely been a longer one, so I hope you guys are really enjoying the longer length. However, this next trade is in fact going to be the last trade of the episode. So, it came to my attention that this guy was quick selling his Cloud9 powdered Practitioner for the Medic, Sniper, and Spy. Now I say that because it is now tri-class, it used to be just for the Medic. Anyway, this guy had an outpost trade where he was quick selling it for 25 keys, with the hat being worth 30 keys on backpack.tf. However, upon closer inspection, you could tell that the price on backpack.tf had not been updated since the hat had gone tri-class, meaning that the hat would probably be worth more than backpack.tf. I mean, if you look at Miami Nights, an effect that is a strict downgrade to Cloud9 in a lot of people's opinions, it had sold for around 35 to 40 keys in unusuals pretty easily since it had gone tri-class. And since I think Cloud9 sells much better than that, I actually feel I could probably get an offer that is more than 40 keys. If I buy for 25 keys, that is a 5 key discount off the current backpack.tf price, so it would be a very tiny discount with a ton of potential upside. However, I really wanted to get that discount down a little bit more because I guess I like to negotiate, even though it probably wasn't necessary. After a little bit of negotiation, I was able to actually get it down to 21 keys, which I was really surprised the other person was willing to go to. The other person knew that it was tri-class, but I guess they just really weren't taking that into consideration when they were making their price. So, I mean, it's a very good deal for me because I can probably use that to my advantage. So I just went ahead and picked it up for 21 keys. Anyway guys, this is going to be the end of the episode here, and I actually do not have a clip of my backpack at the end of this episode. I really just forgot to take one with OBS, so I do not have one. So I am sorry about that, because I know it is really nice to see what I had at the start of the episode and what I had at the end. One thing I can actually do though is tell you guys what I have right now, and I actually have 43 pure keys, as well as the Australian Backscatter, the Stormy Storm demo hat, the Disco Beatdown Dragonborn, the Death at Dusk Naggin Batcher, and the Cloud9 Practitioner that I just picked up. However, of course, at the next episode, I will be able to show my backpack pretty soon into the video. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this really long edition of Keys to Riches, and I hope you are excited for the next episode. Until then, guys, thanks for watching.